Hello everybody and welcome to the Kumho TCR World Tour and the Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia race here at Sydney Motorsport Park. My name is Paul Jeffrey and I am more than a little bit delighted to welcome two legends of Australian broadcasting. Alongside me is Matt Nolte and Greg Ross.
When did the real legends arrive, Paul? You're the legend. Great to have you with us. Paul, of course, for our Australian viewers, is a very familiar voice. To everyone watching, we say good evening if you're in South America, perhaps. We say good morning if you're waking up in the UK. Paul, of course, commentates the series along with TCR Europe. We have got a star-studded cast of your competitors here playing in Australia for two back-to-back rounds. World champions, all sorts of makes and marks. It is going to be a fantastic couple of days, couple of evenings, isn't it?
It is genuinely one of those moments where we will look back on this and take stock, when we have a moment to breathe and say this is an historic moment, the first time the Kumho TCR World Tour has been on Australian soil. An opportunity to race on great circuits like Sydney, like Bathurst in particular, that's coming up. And it really is very difficult at this juncture of the weekend to say exactly where the competitive order lies. And Knowles, we've got a bit of rain on the way potentially as well.
Yeah, we just had news from Race Control, Motorsport Australia Race Control. They've declared this session wet. Now, your eyebrows went up about 6 inches when you heard that. A common thing here is if they're expecting rain, we can put some wet tyres out there, even if it doesn't happen. If you were to go out on wet tyres in a dry session, you'd get a penalty for that. So that's not to say we're about to have inches worth of rain out there, but it's just a warning just in case. I wouldn't rule it out, though.
Absolutely. I mean, we've come into the whole weekend expecting Australia, glorious temperatures. Yes, we've not quite hit the summer period yet, and it has been hot during both free practice and the shakedown that we had the very first thing in the morning. So guys, if it does rain, and I'm hearing in our ears that there is a little bit of rain, you can see on the screen now in pit lane, this is an entirely new ball game for the internationals, but par for the course for the Aussies, which is going to even the playing field even further.
Both Chris Stubbs and Molly Taylor covering the pit lane for us, so we will have updates for you along the way. You can see the sprinkles of rain on our various cameras up and down pit lane there, and Chris Stubbs confirming that just while we were talking before. So there's a recap of the temperatures for you. Air temp 18, 32 on track, 60% humidity, and we have kind of felt that since lunchtime. It's had that feeling in the air like we'll maybe get a little something, and the forecast for tomorrow is maybe we might get some more. Man, that is going to mix things up if that does indeed happen, but doesn't always hold true.
So qualifying on the track now, 23 cars, 24 entered for the weekend. Sadly for Cody Garland and the Valvoline team for Gary Rogers Motorsport. A shunt in practice earlier today has seen that car withdrawn for the weekend. But it's still our biggest field in series history to have the internationals here. We've had 22 on more than one occasion in TCR Australia, but to have the internationals in here, well, man, we're going to really see where we sit on a global sense now.
Yeah, we really are, but guys, just have a look at the amount of rainfall that we're seeing on the screen. Windscreen wipers from Norbert Miklas's car already. Normally what we see in Kumho TCR World Tour, they'll do an outlap, they'll go straight back into the pits, they'll swap the tyres round as we're seeing a recovering Honda on track, and then they'll go again. I don't think we've got time on this occasion. I think these guys are going to be desperate to go and lay a banker as quick as possible.
Spoke to Rob Huff this morning, and he said to me on the track walk, he said, you know, you're walking around on your runners. He said, it feels like the track's got good grip on the walk. He said, man, you get out there and some of the slow speed stuff in the dry, like the, you know, what we affectionately call turn 9 here around the back of Corporate Hill. He said, it's slippery through there. Add a little bit of precipitation, changes it again.
And we've just had World Time Attack here in the recent weeks where a lot of rubber's been laid down, particularly at that last turn. So it'll be very greasy should this track get any wetter. But I'm with you. I think you need to set a time down this first 5 minutes because a sprinkle of rain, remember, you need to be in that top 10 for part 2 of qualifying.
Yeah, and that's going to be critical, as is always the case, regardless of the format of the race event. I'm sure we'll speak more about that one as the broadcast continues. Bad qualifying sets you up for an entirely bad weekend. And there we go. A little bit of rivalry, methinks, there.
Love it. Audi Sport Customer Racing. We're watching Jimmy Claret on screen, the 32-year-old from Paris in the Hangzhou Forklifts entry that was run by Clay Richards at Sandown. Let's get an update from the lane, Chris.
Rusty, it is raining at the moment, serious drops of rain, so I can't see any wet tyres being rolled out yet, but if this keeps up for more than a minute or two, there's going to be all sorts of action in this lane. My notes are getting wet, the ink is running.
Well done.
And it was
evident that for us, yeah.
Evidence on that camera there. Big, long, heavy raindrops there as Claret rolled up to turn number 6. Unexpected to see what the track conditions are like there. So, well, they're expecting a swift shower, maybe a thunderstorm to go through here. We were more looking at tomorrow's forecast going, you know what, there'll be weather in the area tomorrow, but not to get much here in this. This just changes the whole game straight away.
Yeah, and this basically everything that all of our drivers have learnt, all the data they've accumulated over the course of the event here at Sydney, all the notes they've made, the setup changes, and make no mistake, these guys go into the minutiae of the data and the telemetry. These cars are set up pinpoint precise. You can get all that and you can set fire to it because it is worthless.
So to your point, the internationals in the practice sessions were pretty handy. It was probably the Australians that were chasing a little bit, but now local knowledge in some wet conditions comes into play because this is the first time that the likes of Jimmy Claret, who we saw there a moment ago, are experiencing Sydney Motorsport Park in the damp.
And I think when we say local knowledge as well, that is knowing where the circuit gives up the grip in the wet conditions, where rain is likely to form and to hold onto the racetrack. The tricks of the trade that you can only acquire by putting the laps in. As we see a little bit of dust kicked up already, somebody in trouble. This has made a very intriguing session. And as you say, Matt, we've got 10 drivers that we take through the Q2, so it's crucial you're in that top 10.
Absolutely, and we've had fields this year 14 to 15. This is the replay of Jimmy Claret drifting across the top, and how's the irony? They've got a wet track but a dusty outfield still here at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's incredibly dry here. When you cast your mind back 12 months ago, we were seeing some history-making floods in this part of the world, and to come back 12 months later, it is barren out there. But the track really challenging, really greasy at the moment as we check in with the new Honda for wall racing and our reigning champ, not the rain falling from the sky, but reigning champ in the series, Tony D'Alberto, making his way around. Oh, loving what we've seen so far. It's just really going to mix this complete night up.
Just speaking on the Honda as well, I hear a little bit earlier on talking in the panel that the other wall racing Honda of Bebo Girolamo, they had a power steering issue in free practice 1. It looks like, courtesy of being 10th in the times, they've resolved that for the second race, as we see, and that's Will Harris facing the wrong way. So not the first time we have seen one of those Hondas facing the wrong direction.
Now, we should point out that the Harris brothers here, but this is new turf for Will. He's done a little bit of miles at Queensland Raceway, a test here in the past week with the team. Very difficult to tell the brothers apart.
It is. Yeah.
I must admit when you see them. And this is the car has been campaigning successfully. The one that he had when he celebrated winning a title at Mount Panorama Bathurst just 12 months ago.
And great to see the Harris brothers in there. Of course, Brad's been running with us during the season, race winner at Queensland Raceway as well. So being caught out by the conditions, I'm mighty impressed, Paul, with this team. Cyan Racing Lincoln Co. They go out together, they come in together, they're joined by magnets.
And there's just everything about Cyan Racing. All the teams, both in Super Cheap TCR Australia and the Kumho TCR World Tour, are deeply professional outfits. But there's just something about Cyan Racing Lincoln Co. where it's mechanical. The way they've got the hospitality, the teams, the drivers, the mechanics, it is just all at a very, very high level. And it's going to take a lot to beat those Cyan Racing Lincoln Co. 03s.
So 8 minutes remaining in this session. We draw your attention to the totem on the left of your screen, which gives you a sense of who is where. And both Paul and Matt have been reminding us that we are very much focused on the top 10. Who will graduate? Who will push through? As Lockie Manif has a bit of trouble down at turn 2 right now. Mikel Azarcona, the 27-year-old from Spain, is the fastest driver from Australia's Will Brown. Marchingua in the 155. Matt was just singing the praises of Cyan Racing Lincoln Co. He is currently third.
And they topped the session earlier today in dry conditions, both 1 and 2, of which there's 4 here. If you chuck in Tom Oliver, we've got 5 Lincoln Co's in the field. Brad Harris in the pits in the Astron Tech Honda, swapping over to wet. So I think it's about time for that crossover here. It's incredibly wet on the opposite side of the track because this circuit is such a wide track, a long track. It could be drying out already up by the top of turn 2, but that's where the weather's coming from right now.
And we can see the difference that the rain has made. Ted Bjork was the fastest overall in FP2 at 1 minute 34.756. As it stands, Mikkel Azcona has done a 1 minute 40.879. So not full wet territory yet, guys, but it's definitely, there's a whole load of lap time that we can be extracted from this circuit in better conditions.
So outside, looking in, Ian McDougall, 11th position. That's one of his best showings all season long. The relative privateer outfit out of Melbourne. Nestor Girolami, 12th. Last time we saw Nestor, he was 2019 driving for Wall Racing and completely dominated the weekend. Pole position, led every lap over the 3 races and ultimately took out the event down there in Victoria. Great to see him back. So he's 12th. 13th is this guy on screen, Tony D'Alberto, Brad Harris. And some names down there still to keep an eye on. Jordan Cox, for example.
And I reckon, sorry to cut across you there, Matt. I reckon through turn 1, he's had a real heart stopper. We were on a wide shot looking from on high. The car danced a little. That's super high speed through turn 1, as you know, and then struggled to get it turned for turn 2. So D'Alberto is outside the cut at the moment. The reigning Australian champion is 13th currently in this brand new what they call the FL5 Civic Type R. Nestor Girolami has one of these cars as well, both being run this weekend by Wall Racing. And as you know, Paul, it was just over, or just under 12 months ago that Nestor got to debut this car for the very first time.
And the car is getting quicker and quicker and quicker. We've seen in TCR Europe, they won last time out with Ruben Volt at Barcelona. But for TD, remember now, he's not driven this car in these conditions before. So this is completely brand new for him straight away.
How about Paul, TD? He's straight on our Aussie nicknames. I love it. Well done. Let's go to the lane. Molly.
Well, I'm down at GRM and there's a couple of different strategies happening here. Jordan Cox is just rolling out on a set of wets, but I like Benny Barguana's style. He's put the slicks rears, the warm ones, back on the front, and they put some wets on the rears. So he's gone 50-50 either way, so it's going to be interesting to see how that strategy might play out.
Nice work. Molly Taylor there in the lane with some eagle eyes. She's our Extreme E champion. We're very proud of her. It's nice to have her as a part of our coverage once again. So here is the driver to beat at the moment in the 196. He's the only driver in the 1 minute 40-second bracket, I should point out too.
Doing well, Mikkel Azcona, currently for the BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa team. One of 4 drivers, chaps, it's worth bearing in mind, and folks at home as well. If you've not been following closely the Kumho TCR World Tour, Azcona is one of 4 drivers within 27 points of the championship lead. That sounds like a lot if you're using Grand Prix racing point scoring, let's say. But here, we've got 3 races at this track, 3 races at Bathurst, and then a couple of races at Macau. A big weekend for Mikkel Azcona is going to put him right at the very sharp end, and that's going to be crucial as we're getting into the sunset of this first Kumho TCR World Tour.
It's a lot of racing still to get through.
Oh,
Some
yes.
really challenging tracks over the next 3 weeks. As we stay with our provisional poleman at the end of this session, we'll take the first 10. Interesting to see Will Brown out of the car already, and helmet is off, so he seems pretty confident with that Liqui Audi second position, safe enough to be in for part 2.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. And let's have a look. Who have we got on the bubble, so to speak, for moving through to Q2? McDougall in 11th position, just a couple of tenths he needs to find to move himself into a comfortable spot. Bebo Girolami and Tony D'Alberto, 2 big names for 2 Honda drivers in 12th and 13th, Greg.
I tell you what, McDougall, if he can find a little something here, they'll be cheering in that outfit. They're a very small Melbourne-based outfit. They have worked with the Melbourne Performance Centre crew before. McDougall trying to chase Barguana at the moment, who is in the 10 currently. Ben Barguana, who went overseas and contested a round in Portugal, went to Spa as well. He's got some real aspirations, Paul, of tackling more of the World Tour.
Absolutely, and I saw the great interview you did last round with Ben, talking about those aspirations and how he wants to continue moving his career forward. Jason Barguana, somebody I don't mind admitting I'm a bit of a fanboy of. He's been loving back in the days when I met Ben in Portimao. I was talking to Jason, and only 5 minutes into the conversation, it dawned on me. Jason Barguana, wow! So it's great to see that Ben's gone overseas, had a drive, had a race along these guys already, and now hopefully he can use that experience to his favour.
We were talking to Papa Bargs, as we call him over here in Australia, earlier today, and I said, "Do you miss it?" He goes, "I didn't till I got across overseas and saw how hard these guys race it. I need to be driving one of these."
2 minutes remain in this session. It's about who gets into the 10. So things start to get a bit spicy here with the Harris Honda in the midst of a couple of Cyan Racing Lincoln Co's. At the Kona, the fastest from Will Brown, who's already parked it, I should point out too. Brown and Sweeney are back in the lane. I guess they feel in these conditions like they're safely through.
And that, gentlemen, is a very dangerous attitude to take.
Yes.
It only takes a small change in conditions and suddenly armfuls of lap time can come to these drivers. Speaking of lap time, Frederick Vervish moves up from last position to 16th, but a 1 minute 50.7 is in no way representative of that ultimate case out here.
And 19 cars still circulating out there with just over a minute and a half remaining. Lincoln Co team, Cyan Racing looking on. So Brown and Sweeney, our two heavy hitters of the series. Well, you're right, 7 minutes. They're confident. They're safe in there. McDougall was 11th. He hasn't been out for nearly 7.5 minutes as well now. Either way, that's going to be his best ever qualifying result.
Now, the big question here is, have we missed the best of the conditions in terms of setting the time? One name that absolutely screams on the timing screen is surprisingly low, Tom Oliphant, 23rd position. He has been rapid in free practice and for a while looked like the forerunner of the... Oh, there we go.
To your point to 16th, well done. So with time running out, 40 seconds, can he find a little something more? Now, Bargwanna in the Burson Auto Parts entry is pushing. The reason he is on the cusp, he could get knocked out. He's 10th at the moment, provisionally in. Will it be enough to stay there with under 30 seconds to go?
You've got 3 cars down the bottom here going fast. Vervish, Hellershade and Björk all on flying laps down there in 19th, 20th and 21st position, so he needs to move.
And that, to me, is very interesting, chaps. Ted Bjork, 21st. He was quickest in FP1 and FP2. He's only got a victory to his name. He's just crossed the line. Still got 7 seconds left on the clock, so he can go again. But it's only good enough for 13th.
Santiago here has managed to get to 15th. He was further down the order in this Lincoln Cup, which looks like it's struggling to turn. Understeer through those final sequence of corners. And the sectors for him at the moment, time's out. He's run out of time. He's 15th. The sectors don't look good enough to give him a jump, to give him a gain, to get into the 10.
We're going to have some very interesting mixed-up grid at the end of this race. Jan O'Shea that we're riding on board with. Remember, he is in a battle royal with Norman Michaelis at the front of the field. O'Shea manages to cross the line, but where does he move up to? 13th.
Yep, so just misses it with the flag being displayed. We wait for a couple of others. What does Jordan Cox do? He's down in 21st place. That's unbelievable. Just a few weeks ago, he was here driving a Trans Am car, and we know how good he is in front-wheel drive machinery. Cox well down the order.
Yeah, 21st. Tom Oliphant on a good lap. Here he is, the Auto Glen Lincoln Co. 20th goes up into 18th position at the end of the session.
Can we come back to something Paul said about timing here, about, you know, you boys were debating about banking a lap, getting it done early. Richard Crailes just walked in, our commentary colleague. He's told me as he's walked to the commentary box here, it stopped raining. It stopped raining. So for some of those that have missed out, it's literally a pure case of timing here. It stopped raining, but they haven't had enough miles to, like, where's Girolami here? He's 12th. Nesta Girolami is 12th.
And often when you find racing at this level, the drivers, rightly so, try and be a little bit cute about where they want to save their tyres, they want to save the performance right to the very end so nobody can reply out on the circuit, the mind games. But sometimes, guys, you can be a little bit too cute. And I think that has happened to several of these drivers. They've left it too late, they've not shown their cards early enough, conditions have gone away from you, and you could be the best wet racing driver in the world, but if the track's slow, you ain't going faster.
And hasn't this mixed up the grid? That second half of the grid, there's going to be some names coming through with a head full of steam when the lights go out later tonight here in Sydney.
Can I play a little Australian game here for a moment? Look at the 10. What a mixture of internationals versus Aussies we have that have gone through. This is going to be spicy, the top 10. Bargwanna is in there. Josh Buchan, who races for HMO Customer Racing in Australia, he's through. Zach Suter, who's had a tough year in that privateer Audi, he's through as well. Bailey Sweeney, Will Brown, they're in.
And I just want to say, and I know that I'm very biased towards the world of TCR, Zach Suter in 7th position against the world drivers, against the best that Australia's got to offer in a privately run team, is firmly inside the top 10. If that's not what TCR is all about, I can't find a better example. Fantastic performance.
So let's recap the results. Mikael Kona is your fastest driver in part 1 of qualifying. We're about to release the 10 on screen. Back out to see who will get pole position. That Astron Tech check. Bargwanna is through. His stablemate this weekend, Jimmy Claret, who was having all that trouble with that Peugeot in the wet conditions in the early part of the session, he gets through. The Frenchman.
Fantastic stuff. We've got some big names, though, that don't make it through to Q2. Nesta Girolami in 12th position. Jan Elishay, one of the main championship challengers in the Kumho TCR World Tour, 13th. Tony D'Alberto on debut in the new Honda Civic, 14th position. And then the man who was quickest in all sessions, Ted Bjork. He'll be a frustrated 15th when we see the Swedish driver down in pit lane later on.
And outside those guys, looking down to the bottom of that top 20, be working their way through, including Brad Harris, Jordan Cox, Lockie Manee from the tail. But it started with a few raindrops at the top of this 15-minute session. Caught a few drivers out on their outlaps here, but they all knew it was time to go the minute they left out there because the rain would get heavier.
Tough lift. Well, he played tough. Zach Suter managed to get through. Jimmy Claret was in all sorts, getting sideways. So too was Harris in the damp conditions. Claret would get through. He would advance into the second part of qualifying, which is coming up.
As the rain continued, though, the drivers desperately going out on the circuit, trying to improve their lot in the race. Tony D'Alberto using all the racetrack and a little bit more. Almost race conditions on the track there for Ted Bjork and Santiago Urrutia, trying to find the space. And Ben Bargwanna, a top 10 qualifying position, despite visiting the scenery of the Sydney Motorsports Park.
Mikael Kona here in the top position at the end of the very first session. 10 go through, but some names that will be charging in race number 1 in this TCR World Tour event. Molly, what a start to the night here in Sydney.
It really was. Jan just missing out on the top 10. Can you talk us through the conditions out there? Because it wasn't what any of us expected.
Yeah, it started to rain at the beginning of the quali, just some little drop. And we were on a strategy to warm the rear tires in the front for one outing. And when we boxed to swap the tire, it started to rain proper. So we went out on slick on a very damp track when almost all the field went straight on the lap. But to be honest, it's like an unacceptable mistake from my side, actually. I saw some rain. I should have kept going to bank a lap, and it's not acceptable.
We know that the pace is there, seen from practice, and the beauty about the Australian race format is the second race is a reverse top 10. So what can you do in this one to set yourself up for race 2?
Yeah, for sure. We have, I mean, it's not over compared to the race weekend we have in Europe. We still have a chance. It's 3 places to grab to be in the top 10, to have a good chance in race 2. But it's just like, even though we still have a chance, I can't forgive myself this one.
Oh, good luck today.
Thank you.
Matty?
Guys, just down here in pit lane, I mean, frantic scenes as we get ready for this next part of qualifying. I've just seen some team leaders run up and down looking at what tyres are left, who's got what on. I've seen Tom Oliphant jump out of the car. I wanted to have a chat with him. Of course, he's one of our international local drivers, if you like. He was absolutely filthy. Gloves thrown down to the floor in the garage. He ended up in 18th position. Ben Bargwanna's just charged out. The conditions are extraordinary too, because it doesn't feel like it's wet, but it's still spitting. And as the drivers approach turn number 1, there's a big, dark, ugly, grey cloud just hovering, waiting again to perhaps mix this thing up as we head out for our second part of qualifying.
Thank you very much, Matty. Thank you very much, Molly. And chaps, I want to throw this one at you, Knowles. We talked about it earlier on. Drivers can be a little bit too cute in these conditions. Jan Elishay, exactly that. Went for the tyre swap, tried to heat the tyres to maximise, and did what we all often forget to do. Look out of the window.
Exactly. It never ceases to amaze me. Look around you at the time. Oh, man. It was just crazy conditions out there in that first session. It has stopped raining momentarily out there, but as Matt White has pointed out, there is some clouds in the area. So this is going to be, again, a carbon copy of that first part of qualifying. Get out there, dry the track down, and hopefully it rains for the other guys.
Yep, exactly. Just get out there, keep winding on the lap times. Let's have a look who we've got in this 10 Q2 shootout. Norbert Mikulis and Mikael Kona, both BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa drivers, make it through. Then, from Australia, Will Brown, Rob Huff, Zach Suter, Marcin Hua, Bailey Sweeney, TCR, Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia Championship elect driver, also makes it through. Ben Bargwanna, Jimmy Claret and Josh Buchan. healthy mix of Australian drivers and internationals having their first soiree here on Sydney Motorsport Park.
The 105 you saw before sliding sideways. So wild to see a front-wheel drive doing that. You are riding with Norbert Nicholas, the 39-year-old from Hungary for BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa around the back part of the circuit. Front wheels brake traction. You can hear them spinning. Dance around Corporate Hill. Then under brakes. This is where Rob Huff was saying that even in the dry, slow-natured corners like this in the dry was slippery. So we've got damp conditions for competitors. Brown in the background, who was second fastest and parked his car very early in this first part of qualifying. Now it's about the 10. Can the Liqui driver get that Astron Tech pole? It runs over the curbs as he pushes through the final couple of corners onto the main straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
You know he'd be intense right now behind the wheel of car 9. We know Will Brown very well. He'd be smiling from ear to ear the fact that he's in with these guys. He's had a really rough season at Melbourne Performance Centre and goes to P1 with that lap of 42.3 with just under 6 minutes remaining.
Look at it through one, guys. Sorry to Paul, just the way that it was moving around there. We go inside the Liqui pit. McDougall there, out of the car in the background with his dad. They look on. So Brown is the fastest man. Ben Bargwanna back in the lane and getting ready for a run here.
And it's those conditions on the circuit now. But as a racing driver, well, for fun, you love it. But when you're trying to be competitive, you absolutely despise these conditions. It's not wet, it's not raining, it's not full wet, it's just grease.
Oh, look at it, sideways.
There's nothing you can do in these conditions. It's like driving on black ice. And if you're Norbert Nicholas, you'll be delighted that you spent this winter driving in rally cars for Hyundai. They've given him the opportunity. He's a lifelong rally fan, and he needs all that experience. Mikael Kona as well. He's been out there in the dirt buggies going sideways. This is exactly the same, but every time, guys, you're sideways, you're bleeding lap time.
Yeah, and you've got multiple surface changes around here too, which is noticeable too.
Did your heart rate go up then? It went so close to the white line. So close. Huff. Now, here's a guy who's had wins in the British Touring Car Championship, success in Scandinavia. He's a hard touring car racer, isn't he? He knows he's flashing the lights here. He wants to get on with it. Running third in this top 10 with under 4.5 minutes remaining.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, Rob Huff, of course, a 2012 world champion. He's third in the championship. He's not been lightning quick. Sorry, Rob, to say that one. But he's been massively consistent, always there or thereabouts. And straight away again, up into second position, keeps a low profile, goes out there, delivers the time, delivers the result. And for Rob Huff, this is a big day because Jan Elyshe is not in the top 10 and he's the next man in the Kumho TCR World Tour. Exactly. This is opportunity knocks for a lot of these drivers.
Strathcona comes into the pits. News coming through. Buchan and Suter have had their lap times deleted. They've exceeded track limits. That's at turn 5 or turn 8 on this occasion. It's at turn 5. So if you exceed track limits, can you feel the enthusiasm from here down at the Burson Auto Parts team? If you exceed track limits, you wipe your lap time in this session. So they need to be really careful about that. For Josh Buchan, he was 4th.
Now set to chase a lap that will hopefully get him somewhere near the pointy end of the order. He's got the best time we've seen through Sector 2. So Huff quickest in Sector 1. Bargwanna has now started to light up the timing monitor. What's the Burson Auto Parts racer got? He now has the quickest time in Sector 1.
And this is intelligent from Ben Bargwanna. He has waited till the track conditions are at their absolute best to go out there and start pushing. Drivers have been setting times. As Rob Huff on the lock stops, not once, but twice. Can he hold on to the car? Yes, he can. But Rob Huff, sideways, he'll be smiling when he watches the replay, but he will be absolutely furious at this moment in time. Will it be enough to go across the line and set the provisional quickest time? Yes, it will, a 1:41.673.
He eclipses Will Brown, so Huff moves to the top of the order. It's Audi's 1 and 2 at the moment. In third place, Marching Hua for Cyan Racing Lincoln Co. We're watching Bargwanna. He is lighting up the timing board. Quickest through Sector 1. Ben, who went and raced in Portugal, went to Spa, wanted to show the world what the Aussie was capable of. Can he do it here at home? Can he grab a pole position, not only in Super Cheap Auto TCR, but against the world's best? Currently 10th. What's this number? Eventually to the top with a 1:39.582.
And 2 seconds quicker than the field. That's the alarm to the rest of the pits. News through. Michaelis is on slicks on the front, wets on the rear for the balance of the session. Sweeney's got slicks all round, and Brown, wets on the rear, slicks on the front.
Oh, and this is why touring car racing, folks at home, is absolutely spectacular. So many different ways to try and achieve the same thing. We're riding on board, though, with the Hyundai, and that looks almost like the toe links are knocked out, never mind the tyres. No, but Michaelis has got himself armfuls of drama to get that car around.
Just a reminder, these are front-wheel drive, turbocharged machines. You're talking around about 340 horsepower. He was driving it like a Hyundai WRC car.
Fantastic scenes here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Right, we're about to hit the 1 minute marker, and look at this through T1. One of the fastest parts of the racetrack, all the way through. Norby pointing right to go left. Guys, you both screamed out loud there that if I wasn't talking, I'd be under the table. That was spectacular.
Never seen a car do that through turn one.
At turn one. In the meantime, Bargwanna is lighting up sector 1. Sector 2 not so sharp. He gets by the Lincoln Co. 30 seconds remaining. Will he get one more lap at this? Will he get to the finish line in time? Is he about to improve on the 1:39.582 that has him provisionally on pole with the Kumho TCR World Tour in town? Bargwanna heads for the line here in the Peugeot. 4:09, he goes even quicker.
And not only is he quicker, Knowles, he's quicker by multiple seconds.
Yeah.
This is a performance and a half from the Burson Auto Parts driver.
And no one around him is going anywhere near as quick as that. So that could be enough to secure pole position as the checkered flag waves. He's been on the slicks for that last part of the session. That could have been the key move for the Burson Auto Parts team.
And critically, he's been on the slicks at the right time.
Yes.
He's stayed on the circuit. He's got the heat in the tyres. He's got a handle on the conditions. And no, once again sideways, holding up teammate Mikkel Afkona as well. So the two BRC cars tripping over each other. Norby tries to give him space or just tries to stay on the racetrack. Who knows? But let's have a look now. Can Afkona, can Norbert Michaelis improve their times? Bailey Sweeney moves up. Position as well. Afkona immediately dispossesses him at the front. And Will Brown goes quickies.
Will Brown to the top at the very end, a 1:38.59. We were focused on Afkona and Bailey Sweeney jumping up there, and the Liqui driver has snatched it at the very end of an exciting qualifying session.
Folks at home, I'd just like to paint a little visual picture for you all here as we're looking actually on the time. Bargwanna is going faster again, gets the car a little bit squirrely on the rear, runs out of racetrack, unfortunately, for the 71. But my two Australian colleagues here, showing absolutely no bias for the TCR Australia Series, are they're moving around more than I've ever seen a commentator. It's brilliant stuff in the box and hopefully brilliant stuff at home as well as Bargwanna gets that provisional pole with fastest at 37.8. Sensational.
Oh. What do you say? You've seen this all year. That's going to be up there, one of the best sessions.
I just love motor racing, and this has been incredible, guys. What a performance from every one of the drivers. Let's give credit to Jimmy Clary in 9th and Zach Suter putting a good performance. But you can't look further than that front row of the grid. An all-Aussie front row. And that's a very happy Jason Bargwanna, Ben's dad.
You want entertainment? You got it. What about the Hyundai and Squadra Corsa cars? How sideways they were through the final turns. Bargwanna, in the end, right at the death knell, it was snatched for the briefest of moments by Will Brown. Bargwanna fought back and has taken pole position, a 1:37.803. Aussies on the front row. What a story with the World Tour in town. Unbelievable.
Simply incredible. What a session. Afkona was 3rd, with Sweeney 4th, Rob Huff 5th, Markin White back in 6th position, Josh Buck in 7th, Michaelis back in 8th, Claret 9th, and Zach Suter take a bow inside that top 10. Australia go 1 and 2 after qualifying.
Not need to smile so large, gentlemen, I'm sure. But yeah, that was a brilliant session, and that sets us up absolutely perfect for this weekend. We're racing again this evening under lights at the Sydney Motorsport Park for another new aspect that we've not taken into account yet. The show is well and truly started.
Our cameras were inside the Burson Auto Parts garage there before, and you could see generationally all of the Bargwannas. Jason's dad, I think, was in there. Success for Ben Bargwanna. Unbelievable day. And then look at the disconsolate face there a moment ago for Jordan Cox, who didn't make the top 10. If you'd asked me earlier today who were one of the Aussies that might sneak in against the internationals, he would absolutely have been in there.
Yeah,
Bargwanna.
absolutely fantastic stuff. So, sorry about that one. Ben Bargwanna is our man on provisional pole position from William Brown. Mikel Kona leading the charge for the Kumho TCR World Tour in 3rd position. Bailey Sweeney will line up in 4th position in the Hyundai, just ahead of Rob Huff and Ma Qinghua. Josh Buchan, a good performance there in 7th place, ahead of the Sideways, the massively entertaining but not quite quick enough Norbert Michaelis in 8th position. 9th place goes the way of Jimmy Clary, making his return to the world of TCR Australia and the Peugeot alongside Ben Bargwanna. And Zach Suter, a very impressive, if slightly understated compared to the drama at the front of the field, 10th place.
Style points for Michaelis, you got to say, for that last lap in the session. That was out of control. Bargwanna grabs the pole here from Brown by 7/10. Remember, that was nearly 3 seconds with 1.5 minutes to go. Yeah, exactly.
I'm still in shock about the stuff through turn 1. I mean, there was everywhere you looked, there was something. And the story about picking your moment, working with the weather conditions, which were changeable in both sessions, and Bargwanna comes out on top.
Look at that. That's a man who is absolutely... You walk around any part of Australia and find a man that's happier than Ben Bargwanna, and I will give you cash money. He is so delighted, and he deserves that one. He's not had the results this season that the clear pace has shown, and that'll start to weigh on him. And here we go with that great result.
And all that reward for all the travel he's done this year to go and take on the World Tour. So we look at the highlights of this incredible qualifying session. Race Sydney and Kumho TCR World Tour here for the first time. We're expecting something special. Well, it over-delivered.
Oh, without any shadow of a doubt. We thought it was going to be tight. The rain came in. That added an element of drama. Mikel Kona we can see sideways. That's not the last time we'd see a BRC Hyundai car sideways. And the end result was, for me at least, I'm sure everybody watching, edge of your seat excitement.
It was a joy to watch Rob Huff hustling that Audi. Josh Buchan was doing the same. Here's a guy who's won in the British Touring Car Championship. This was heart in the mouth stuff as Norbert Michaelis in the 105. It was exciting, but it didn't give the lap time. Brown briefly jumped to the top of the order, but in the end, Ben Bargwanna would take a pole position here, and I've got to say, when he got out of that car, gentlemen, he looked almost even a little emotional when you looked through the visor of that helmet. That one means a lot.
And rightly so. There was like an outpouring of emotion. That's 12 months of work, and it's paid off here. And suddenly, Stubbsy, the conditions have changed out there once again. Down to you, mate.
They have. It's dry, but I tell you what, it's possibly a little bit moist in the eyes of Ben Bargwanna. That roar was like a caged lion, mate. That means the world to you. Pole position, well done.
Oh, that was one of the hardest qualifying sessions ever. Oh, the result is just incredible. I can't thank JRM enough. We made the right call. Oh, sorry, I'm out of breath. That's the best thing ever.
Whose decision was it ultimately to go with the slicks? Because it was still pretty damp out there.
It was a tough call. Stiffy asked me if I wanted to do it, and I had to make the call, so I said yes. It was really risky, but yeah, it paid off.
Earlier today, talking to your dad, Jason, he said, look, if we can get in the top 10, we'll take that. Pole position, what does that mean? Can you believe it even?
I can't put it into words. It's just incredible. I'm out of breath.
You're out of breath, you're emotional. Celebrate it. You've got to go and think about a race now. In terms of the package with a dry track, what have you got? What are you capable of?
Look, we're going to throw everything at it. Hopefully we can stay up there, but yeah, we're going to have to wait and see.
Go well, mate. Go and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Norbert, P8 in qualifying, you're not happy with that, you want more, but we were watching your in-car for a lot of that session, and it was very entertaining from where we were sitting. It was very rally style. Just talk us through that, because it was wild.
Yeah, it was wild. I tried to do my best, not being on the right tire choice to survive and to salvage some points. But in the end, you get sometimes tricky sessions like this. It can go either way. I mean, we did the right choice with staying out in the beginning of Q1. It was important to set the lap time there because the rain intensity was just getting higher and higher. And then Q1, it was a lottery. I mean, with 10 minutes, you try to guess before going out what's the right tire choice, and you have one chance to change. And we did not make the right choice on the rear. This is why I had a lot of grip on the front, but almost zero grip on the rear. But anyway, finishing P8, it's still okay for the races.
Yeah, it was a brilliant drive, and you've had a couple of practice sessions now. It looks like there's been a lot of setup changes happening, you know, during the sessions, in between the sessions. So how are you finding the track? How are you finding the car? Are you happy with everything's at, or you still got more to go?
I hope we have still some good stuff to come from car setup. The changes you see, or the many changes, are because of the nature of the circuit. This track is quite demanding with all the types of corners you can imagine. You have turn one well above 200 k's. You have a hairpin left right after that. You have lots of direction changes. So in the end, I mean, to have a good car set up, especially with us being new here, so it's the first time for us, it's very challenging.
All the best tonight, Norbert.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Second in that session belongs to this man, Will Brown, who was so close in the end of an enthralling session. Did you feel the extra level of tension? Because pit lane had a totally different feel to it.
Yeah, there's some serious blokes here this weekend, that's for sure. But no, it's been really interesting to have a look around and see how the WTCR guys do it and how serious they run their operations. But yeah, in the dry running we struggled a little bit in practice, but it was cool to see that rain come out and really shake that session up. And you know, I felt really good. You know, I ran wet rear tyres, but I think in the end, obviously, Bargwanna running those dries and running a slick set all around got us. But yeah, it was pretty cool just to be out there and be in the top 5.
Was it a bit two-faced at the end of that session, this circuit? Was it a bit you didn't know which way to go, wet or dry?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the wet rears had just burned off in one lap. So I literally crawled around on my out lap and then went for it on my fast lap. And by the end, you're just sliding because it just absolutely melts them straight away. But I thought that'd be quicker than going to a slick, but obviously Bargwanna made the right choice. So we're going to have some fast guys behind us tonight, and we'll see what we can do. But I'm just out there having some fun. It'll be awesome.
Well, we didn't know how serious this us versus them thing's going to be this weekend. But after that session, I think it's on. I mean, you guys are very patriotic, and it's like you're protecting your patch here.
Yeah, if I say it's on, they're probably going to take me out or something. So I'll say, no, I really like these guys and all that. No, I think it'll be on. It'll be cool for one of the Aussies to get a win, but obviously they're working towards their championship as well, which is a massive thing for them. So I think it'll produce good race, and I just wish it rained this afternoon because that was pretty fun out there. But we'll wait and see what tomorrow brings.
Well done. Best of luck in the race.
Cheers. Thank you.
Mate, Molly, thank you very much for the interviews on pit lane. And that is it for the Kumho TCR World Tour and Supercheap Auto TCR Australia qualification session. It has been a drama-filled session. We've had rain, we've had cars off track, we've had surprise results, and of course we've had Norbert Mikulich showing everybody how you turn one of these cars sideways. But we're not done. In the world of TCR touring cars for today, we'll be back again at 20:30 local time, 10:30 CET, for our opening race of the weekend in the Kumho TCR World Tour and Supercheap Auto TCR Australia here at a beautiful and now, ironically, Sydney Motorsports Park. So make sure you get yourselves back on the broadcast to watch that race in action once again. If it's anything like as dramatic as qualifying, it'll be one you do not want to miss. And to keep you entertained, we've got plenty more action still to come. So stay tuned here on the broadcast for more great racing action.
Well, what a session that was, and we've got so much more to look forward to this evening as the lights take full effect here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Thrilling qualifying for the Kumho TCR World Tour and Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia. And the balance between the internationals and the